What's going on, Junkie Nation? Gorgeous George and Goes checking in here. We got some big news. No, I'm just kidding. We got Paul Hughes. He's big news, and he's joining us here to talk about his fight coming up against Bruno Miranda on Saturday, May 10th. They're out in Belfast, Ireland, Northern Ireland, and it's at the SSE Arena. Paul, I've seen your Instagram. You had always dreamt of main eventing that arena. Have you fought in the arena? Maybe not as a main event, but have you fought there before yet?
Yeah, I made my professional debut here just over 8 years ago. So it's where I started my career, and yeah, it's a very meaningful one for me.
How many fans were there for that one?
Do you know what? I couldn't really tell you. I would say maybe it was half full, so you're talking 3,000 to 4,000, I would estimate.
What's it going to be like on Saturday? How many fit in that arena?
I think the setup we have is around 7,000, and we're very close to selling that out.
Very cool, man. We're so happy for you. And I'm sure you've probably been there for other events as well. So you probably had this type of dream all your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the SSE Arena is our biggest arena here in the north of Ireland. So it's what everybody looks at and going, someday, it's as good as it gets. So it's very exciting.
And it's funny because all this has happened quick. I was looking at the timeline of your fights, and if we go back 1 year ago today, we would be asking you about your last Cage Warrior fight. Hey, how'd it go? Coming off the win over Fabiano Silva. And since then, look at all you've done. So my question to you is, in 1 year, what do you think we'll be talking about aside from probably this win, and then what?
Look, you'll be talking about maybe my first or my second title defense. That's what we'll be talking about.
I like it. Is this pretty much, we won't call it a title eliminator. We know you were right there with Usman, right? But basically, there is no other obstacle. After this, at some point, you two meet up. I know he had this plan of you had to get 4 wins or something ridiculous like that. But now that, everyone's kind of like come down from that event, you've taken a fight, you're going to go in front of your hometown crowd. Does that look like what the plan is going forward?
Yeah, no question. Look, that is the fight that everybody wants to see. And it is the fight that will happen probably at the end of this year. There's no question there. He can try delay it as long as he can, but his time will come.
And I know that when you prepare, well, actually, let's not talk about that fight right now. Let's focus on this fight. I'm sure we'll talk to you before that fight again. Bruno Silva, what does he bring to the table that, you say, okay, that's something I have to look out for?
Look, devastating punching power and kicking power. He's a dangerous guy. I really do have to be on my game here. And I will be. I always am. I take every opponent extremely seriously. And especially Bruno, look, as I say, he is really dangerous. So I have to be on my game.
In regular sports, you know how it is. In football, it's tough to win on the grounds of the home team. And same thing here in the United States, baseball, NBA, NFL, for whatever reason, because we're in Vegas, so we're always talking gambling. When you look, the home team's always favored 3 points or whatever, right? How much of a home crowd advantage do you think you're going to have that night?
I mean, obviously it's my people, but I'm not sure how much it gives you an advantage. I guess we'll see whenever I fight. It's been so long. I think a fight's a fight, and when you're fighting at the highest level, everyone is so dangerous, and the margins for victory and error in this sport are, yeah. I guess I'll have to see in a couple of weeks if it makes a difference. Of course, I'm going to absorb that energy, but look, I've had good energy and walkouts in my last 3 fights, even if it is in the Middle East. So we'll see.
I imagine mentally, right? Because physically, you guys are still going to punch hard, kick hard, and all that stuff. But I imagine mentally, that's where all of a sudden one person can grow in confidence as you're walking down that tunnel, whereas the other person might have a question or two, a doubt or two.
Yeah, well, look, I think if you look at any of my walkouts in my career, there's no doubt there. There really is no doubt there, and that's if I'm fighting away in another if I've got an away game, you would say. it doesn't make a difference to me where it's at. Like, I know I'm the best, and that's it.
Paul, so the last fight for us, for a lot of people, it didn't feel like a loss. So my question is, do you also feel like you're carrying the momentum that you had from that streak? Because a lot of people are big Paul Hughes fans now. It was a great fight. We feel like that momentum hasn't been lost, but only you can answer that.
I don't think so. I think that if anything, people will be expecting me to run through Bruno. They'll be expecting an incredible performance, just my last couple. And that's why there is kind of added pressure here to deliver, because Bruno is the type of guy who could spoil a party if you're not on your game. So, yeah, I mean, certainly is some extra momentum there, but yeah, there is.
You've always seemed like a cat that's just cool under pressure. Is that something that you've developed throughout the years in training? Or if we go back to even childhood or whatever sports you played back then or things you did back then, are you kind of the same guy? Is it something you were just born with?
To a degree. Now, I played Irish sports growing up, called Gaelic football and hurling, at a very high level. So since I was, I guess, 11, 12 years old, I've been competing essentially, and at a good level throughout. So when it came to mixed martial arts, I was able to kind of use that and rely on that competitiveness and that kind of, I guess, pressure of performing in front of a crowd. But as of the last few years, I mean, I had fantastic experience in Cage Warriors days. I had multiple world title fights, big high pressure fights, and that's where I kind of earned my stripes in the big high pressure situations in mixed martial arts. So when I transitioned over to PFL, I already had that experience banked, and that's why I've been able to just kind of take it more in my stride. Now, of course, the events have got bigger and higher pressure, but I'm the guy for it. You know, I am the guy for it. You put me I enjoy the pressure. I really do. Any night that I've had in my career that has been the highest pressure, you would say, is when I've delivered the best. So I invite it all.
Paul, at the end of the day, is it about money, belts, a little bit of both? What's this all about for you?
Good question. Right now, like, obviously, I'm gonna fight Usman. I'm gonna beat him. I'm gonna get that belt. Of course, with the belt comes more money. That's very important to me, because a lot of fighters, they leave this game and they don't have any money. They've got nothing to show. And that is the saddest thing in the world, in my opinion, because of what we sacrifice to this game is more than any other sport, in my opinion, other than, I guess, boxing. So to come away from the sport with something to show for it, to have, I mean, and ideally what I'm gunning for is to set myself and my family up for life. That's what I'm doing this for now. So yeah, a bit of both, but making sure that I've got something to show is incredibly important for me.
If there was a way to snap your fingers and take away somebody else's particular skill set, somebody you respect in our industry, somebody who, a great wrestler, a great jiu-jitsu game, a great striking game, who would that fighter be and what would you take from them?
Good question. Really good question. Something I've never been asked this question before. First thing that kind of came to mind there is Alex Pereira's knockout power. Just the touch of death. That would be great. You know, that would make things so easy.
You know, just yesterday I saw Anderson Silva's debut against Chris Liebman. It popped up on one of my feeds. Do you happen to know the fight I'm talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Anderson had come over from Pride, and Chris was coming off the first season of The Ultimate Fighter. And Chris was a tough guy. I don't want to disrespect him. Now he's a judge. I don't know if you know that he's a judge in California and Nevada for MMA. So he's, moved on and all that. But man, watching Anderson and the way he would flow, such a thing of beauty. If you had said, I don't know, what do you guys think? That's what I would have said. He just had this really, really nice flow to him. And it looked like the fight was in slow motion. And it just looked like, he was just creating these angles and this ability to just go that, and get out of there unscathed, but also deliver damage.
Yeah, Anderson, I mean, he's my GOAT. Like, when I started watching this sport, he was the guy. So I'll always look at him like he's the sort of guy, like, if I met, I think I would freak out, because he was in that phase of of mixed martial arts for me. He was just the guy. Like, so yeah, interesting.
Do you ever mimic those guys in practice? Just kind of having fun, like the rest of us when we have a basketball, you pretend you're Jordan falling away and hitting. Like, do you ever, even though you may not do it in a fight because you just might not have that skill set or that fluidity or whatever, but do you mimic some of these guys and what they do?
To a degree, yeah. Look, I obviously study everyone. If there's something that somebody does incredibly well, like such as again Pereira with the left hook, I always try things out. If course, you gotta have fun with this sport too.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely.
You ever seen Anthony Pettis' Showtime kick? Have you ever tried that? If so, have you tried it?
Oh, I've tried it, of course. I think every fighter has tried it many times, not to great success probably, but we've all tried it.
And so, what do you tell your opponent? Just get your hands up. I just want to see if I can do it.
I just throw it out there. Why not?
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. Some of the things that we see. I always wonder if some techniques will circle back and come around or whatever, but just, fine-tuned and perfected or whatever. Have you already envisioned how you're going to win the fight?
I see a viral knockout, to be honest. I see a viral knockout.
And how big will the Paul Hughes contingent be? So let's include family, friends, and then all your, maybe people you teach at the gym or just people from the gym. How many tickets are you responsible for, you think?
I'm responsible for 7,000 out of 7,000, my man.
Everyone kind of knows you one way or another, huh?
No, look, I mean, obviously there's some really good talent in this card. In fact, it's a very, very good card. It's not just a case of they throw me main event and then there's like just up and comers. It's a really legit card. A couple of my teammates, Corey McLaughlin, Sean McCormick, are both fighting. So, but look, I mean, I dragged the PFL back there myself. They're in Belfast because of me. So, there's got to be a good squad out supporting.
Are you pretty popular now in the country?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think from the last fight, things just reached another level for me here. I definitely kind of made my mark on the world stage of mixed martial arts, and in Belfast, we're a fighting city. Combat sports kind of runs deep in the culture here, especially obviously the boxing days. But now mixed martial arts is having its come up too, and I'm certainly leading that charge here in the north. So, yeah.
I know this might sound corny, but I'd be anxious to see if you went for a jog out, in your town, and you told a few kids, "Hey, come on," because maybe someone will go, "Hey, Paul Hughes, come on for a run, light run." If you could build up one of those Rocky contingents, throughout the city, do you have that type of popularity?
God knows, mate. God knows. A few Instagram stories, you never know. But the weather's not quite nice here in Belfast, so unless you're willing to come out and run in the rain, then I don't think I'd have that many.
That makes it even better.
Oh well, maybe.
What? Okay, let's finish with this. What in the heck is Gaelic football?
Gaelic football is our national sport here in Ireland. So, to kind of put it simply, it's kind of a mix between, as you would know, soccer and rugby, because you can lift the ball and run with it. Now, you can't run with it just like a rugby ball, because every 4 steps, just like in basketball, you have to bounce it every step or second step. Right. You have to tip the ball or bounce it. So it's a mixture between that. There is goalposts like rugby goalposts, but below it, there's a goalkeeper. So you get 3 points for scoring a goal and 1 point for scoring a point. So it's over. But look, this is what I would highly recommend you to have a look at some highlights on YouTube after this. Gaelic football and hurling, HURLING. Highly recommend it, because you'll see why I grew up tough here in Ireland and why a lot of us grew up tough.
Well, once you said the goalie, okay, I can see how that changes things around a little bit. But guess what? I'm ahead of you. I've seen Australian rules football, just stumbling across it on YouTube. Man, some brawls break out there too. I've always been a big fan of rugby for sure, but I'm gonna have to check this out and see, because it sounds like that's kind of a little bit of what you're hinting at. And then what is hurling?
Hurling is another Irish sport. We play it with a stick, so I guess you could compare it in some ways to lacrosse, except it's a lot more brutal and a lot more skillful and technical.
Damn, you just clowned lacrosse in one shot.
Yeah. When you watch it, you will think the same.
So more brutal as in more fights, or just what's going on? Or you can check someone real hard, or what?
Getting hit with the hurling stick all the time. Like, yeah, it's really intense.
Dang, and you played at a high level in both, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, look, that's what we grew up playing here in Ireland.
Wow. Did you ever play rugby?
Never. I was too busy.
You gonna watch the Europa games coming up?
I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, I know you got big things going on still, but Manchester United making it to the semifinals.
I know. I was a big United fan growing up.
I remember we chatted about it in the last one, and I don't know if you happen to catch that game. They were down 4-2, and they were up an extra guy. The other team had 10. That was awesome. Paul, always a blast chatting with you. We wish you the best against Bruno Silva, PFL Europe 1 coming up, folks. You got to check it out. Obviously, we will give you all the updated times and cards on MMA Junkie. And hopefully we can chat again with you in the summer and we can look back on this fight and see what's next for Paul Hughes.
Sounds good, bro. Appreciate it.